Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Music Lab podcast. My name is Dogg, and I'm so excited to be back with all of you for another episode of the podcast. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, our social media pages. That helps us and helps the bands like Easy Honey. Also, check out our sponsor, RAR Outfitters. That's RAWR. Outfitters.com. Don't just wear, rawr. So, ladies and gentlemen, all the way from his car in Charleston, South Carolina, Mr. Webster from Easy Honey. How are you
Woo!
today?
Woo! We're good, man. Just sitting outside, gonna beat all the guys to practice today, which isn't always the case. So they'll get here at about 11, and we'll work for about 3 hours, which can be that's kind of what we found the sweet spot. There was probably a time where we were practicing longer than that and shorter than that, but uh 3 a day and kind of and a lot of bands like maybe in their early days practice really late at night just because that's when people can get together, but we're afforded the luxury of just being able to get together in the daytime and work, so that's been nice.
Yeah. Are you guys all now full-time musicians, or do we still have some day jobs?
We're pretty much full time. I mean, we keep it tight where we can, and if there's a period of touring where we're not doing any touring, I guess no touring, we'll pick up little random stuffs. I feel like I've heard a musician talk about like, yeah, we would like go build this guy's fence. Like we've done that. Just kind of random stuff to not have to take from the band as much. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, we start Thursday on our almost, 2-month tour. We figured out 27 shows. How do you personally prepare for a tour mentally and physically?
um, physically, I just bring my running shoes and then I work out as much as I can when I'm not touring. And that it always dips a little bit. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there who like are even more regimented on tour in a weird way. Like you can get kind of distracted at home with other stuff
Yeah.
in a weird way. But I don't know. I think we're just gonna rehearse. I mean, like there's not so you wish you could have like 2 months leading up to it where you're like writing out the set list 2 months before, but um I don't know. I think you just kind of fly by the seat of your pants a little bit, and prepare as much as you can.
Do you feel like for this tour you've learned some stuff from the past tours that you can kind of use on this one, or do they all kind of like just gel together?
Man, in a weird way, they kind of gel, because like for instance, to be able to not work a bunch, it's we got to go like in between tours. We go play gigs that people don't know about, like whether it's a college party or what else did we do? I mean, we just did like a little festival in Athens, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think they blur, but yeah, I've learned a lot. You just learn to like keep it as cool as you can, but you care so much, so it's a weird thing. But there's like moments where you need to like zoom out, you know what I mean? And just, keep going.
Is it tough for, like, after a show, especially when you guys are in the depth of the tour, is it tough to say no to like your fans who want to hang out after the show and like, want to do this and want to do that? Like, do you kind of have like a boundary that you have to set, or, is it hard to say no?
Not really. I mean, we're pretty blessed in the sense that all four of us have kind of the same amount of like energy level. And maybe that just comes from being doing the same stuff, but I will say when you start out and when any band starts out, they're staying with their friends sometimes, and when you stay with these friends, you feel like you owe them this hang, and eventually the more you do it, hopefully the less you have to do of that. But like at a certain point, it's like their one night of the year of partying, and you're going every night. And so, no, I think you just learn to it, but it is super fun. I mean, you have a little bit of adrenaline after a show. I mean, I've heard that Elton John, like, he can go to sleep immediately after a show, but most people, like, you stay up for a few hours, and it's a weird schedule. And like, you know, when you're on that kind of, what would you call it?
Trajectory.
No, like precipice
Oh,
of
sure, yeah.
being where you're not in a bus yet, but you're still playing a lot. And because uh, when you're in a bus, they drive you overnight, and so you wake up there. But when you're in the van, you stay up late because of that. Even when it's not a late show, you're still staying up kind of late, but then you got to get up pretty early. So the goal is to make it to the bus. But it's funny because we talk to people who've done it in a bus too, and it's like anything kind of. I was just watching Brian Ray, who's the guitar player for Paul McCartney, and he's like it's a schlep. Like if you're Paul McCartney, it's a schlep. Like you still got to get on the bus, you still get on the get on the plane and whatever it is. But yeah, I forgot where I was going with all that, but.
No, no, you're good. You're good. I liked it. So the I mean, obviously the grind of touring, that's the livelihood. Is it tough for you guys to separate like the art from like the commodity? Like this is music, but it's also you're trying to make a living.
Yeah, I think that's like the age old story is that bands get to the point where you're like, hey man, like if I wrote a song like this, we might be in the bus. And at first that's a huge like realization and turn off, and you're like, oh, like how could that ever be? But then you kind of realize that like any band or musician that you ever liked had that same challenge and faced those same things, like go read. I feel like Keith Richards talks about in his book, and he's like, yeah, like Mick took this deal, and that everyone faces that. So it's just how you like do the dance with that, I guess. So yeah, I don't know if it's they're kind of married, like the art and the artist whole conversation, like they're kind of married. If you want to leave one out, leave it out. It's kind of like a case by case thing, I feel like.
Yeah. So like you're like when you're touring and we're opening for bands or when you're having openers and you guys just played South by, you just played this festival in Athens, your
Hmm.
bands that are your contemporaries, like are you surprised at the level let me rephrase. Like you hear about like people under 30 like just not really drinking anymore and like there's just not this like like idea to like and you were talking about it, like you're working out, you're surfing, all this stuff. Like do you see that with other bands or are you guys kind of an anomaly in that respect?
Honestly, it's weird. If you put me in like the 1980s or something, maybe I would have said a different thing, or the 90s or whenever. But um, anyone we know who does it and does it a lot is pretty chill about all that. I mean, um, there's almost actually something romantic that would totally be like going the opposite way, because everyone's kind of leaning in that direction. But I don't know. I think if you do it a lot, it's just, man, you'll feel like shit if you're boozing every night. And so anyone we know who does it a lot is pretty chill, and then has like the occasional fun night. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Um, but yeah,
And I would assume you guys are kind of all lockstep in that as well, like there's not really any dissension when it comes to that.
not really. I mean, I never thought I would drink an NA beer when I was younger, but we drink them all the time now. It's nice. It's kind of the placebo effect is enough, you know. And but yeah, just drinking one or two beers, it'll make you not want to get up the next day.
Yeah. So let's talk about, I mean, the band started out in Swanee, Tennessee. But
Hmm.
you guys have been in Charleston now for how long?
I mean, they moved here in 20, like 18 or 19, pre-COVID,
Right.
and they moved here. Um, they left their college bass player in college, and then found it. Took a few months, found their guy, and then um, did one little mini tour, and then had COVID happen, and which was kind of a blessing and curse in a way. I mean, they lost a couple of years of touring, but it allowed me to, I guess, move here and join the band, and because they lost their bass player too, and so um, yeah, that's where how we found it. And we started touring in 2022. So as things were picking back up, and then as anyone like knows in music, it kind of like it ballooned a little bit, and then kind of um, came back steady.
Yeah. So had you been in previous bands then, or is this your first band?
No, I had. I'd always played with Selby growing up. But in reality, I think about it, not as much as you would think, because he's 4 years older than I am. And so we were always like, we were never in high school at the same time, and we were never in college at the same time. And I mean, I would hang out with them a lot. And so I had a band in college. There was like it was a small school, so you kind of had to play with anyone who was good. And there weren't that many people to pick from. There were like, some music students, and then anyone else who wasn't the music students were never interested in like playing out or playing in a band. And then aside from that, it was like the only people who were good were the jam band guys. And so I kind of got into that world for a while. And then as I was joining this band, I was like, wouldn't it be cool? And I was like, wouldn't it be cool if you took the feelings of like a jam band that could really play, and then combine that with like these indie rock songs that like Pine Grove or somebody would write, so yeah. And then like I'd heard like Ryan Adams and the Cardinals, and I was like, that's kind of similar to that. A friend's dad showed me them like a long time ago, and I found that, and I was like, that's kind of similar in that vibe. And so but you don't see that a lot, and I think there's something kind of like contrasting about, there's the indie rock bands that like ching, 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 and like they can't really play, and that's the charm. But if you could take what's beautiful about that, and then bust into like a jam when you could play, I thought that was really cool. So that's a little bit of what I thought, at least think I brought to the band. And then I don't know, we probably saw some concerts together as a band, and we're like, we saw Neil Young, but we've seen some other bands that jam. We've seen Parcels together. It actually becomes this hugely important thing to see a band together as a band, which you can kind of get lost, because when you're a band, if you're at a festival or something, like, okay, maybe someone's eating, or like two of the guys are watching the band. But then maybe you all come together and watch the headliner of the festival, and you're like, oh my God, that's like amazing. And that becomes this like important stuff. But, you know, at home, we're a little less interested in like, what would be an example of a band? I don't know, just some huge band, not like, okay, I would probably go see My Morning Jacket, but imagine My Morning Jacket came and like, yeah, I don't know, I had to like $300 for a ticket. That becomes different when like A, you're doing music, and then B, it's just you could see that show for free, and that's kind of the goal. So um to be playing the festival itself. So that was a long-winded response.
No, I think you are spot on though on your description of your music. Like I get like yeah, jammy, kind of like a little bit of 70s, a little bit of surf, kind of like indie rock. Like that's kind of what that's kind of like the vibe. And I think it is cool. And Ryan Adams, It's too bad he's such a dick, but like his music
I
is
know.
so fantastic. Like Heartbreaker is like one of the best albums like ever. Like yeah, so yeah,
I
I feel
agree.
you on that.
I've gotten to the I could like see past it for a while, and I'm almost I don't listen really. It took me. I don't know. I got too tired of him being the dick. You know what I mean? So, um, and
It's
then
like Van
occasionally,
Morrison. Like like come on, man. Like just stop. Or
yeah,
Morrissey. I'm
honestly,
sorry, not Van Morrison. Morrissey. Morrissey.
Van,
He's like
Van
such
could
a
be a Van could be kind of a dick, but in like a good way, probably.
yeah, that's true. But anyway, enough about them. So we got an EP coming out called Plaid. It comes
Hmm.
out April 30th. Why the title Plaid and why an EP and not a full length?
The EP, we kind of decided. I guess probably we have a ton of material. Darby and Selby write a lot, and then I've started contributing since the last album, and so we always have a ton of material. It's really a matter of like how the limiting factor is just the recording of it and like the getting together in between touring and stuff. But we did an EP, I think, just because we wanted to change it up from the album, and partly um, we had signed the record deal, and we were like, we could do a record or we could do an EP and kind of like um, just break it up in a cool way and like figure out kind of the next chapter of like being with a label and stuff. Kind of learn from hey, what are we liking, what's working, kind of stuff. So that's why we did an EP, and then it's called Plaid. Basically, we were looking for the art, and I think we had taken some pictures. It was maybe going to be called Marble because we recorded a lot of it in Marble, Colorado, where they get all of the marble, like for the Washington Monument. It came from there and then came from like a place in Vermont, I think. But it was this really cool place that a friend of ours in Colorado was like, "Hey, y'all should go," because we had kind of done some recording in like remote areas, and it's just like a cool way to just really immerse yourself in it. Because I think at first when you're recording, you're doing it like at somebody's house or like a studio in town, and then you're like, oh well, we need to go do something where we're like super immersed and not like having to go let your dog out or something. So then we did that, and then we pendulum swung back to the other way of like, no, we need to like put it like it needs to feel kind of like work, like so the pendulums always swing. Having said all that, it was supposed to be called Marble. We were recording it in like a remote area, and then all the songs kind of came from there. And I don't know, we might just use that title later on, but uh like we just needed some art. And so we had a good picture of us in front of some plaid, like just a plaid backdrop, I guess, that our friend had done.
Okay.
And I was like, that's kind of a cool name. It kind of reminded me of Jeff Beck's like Ola or something. It just felt like something Jeff Beck would do, plaid. And I just thought it was a cool name, and it is kind of like textured. And so I threw it out right when we were like kind of needing to decide. And Darby really liked it. And Darby and I are probably usually on the opposite ends of the spectrum on stuff. So like when we agree on things, because I'm brothers with Selby, so we agree on a lot. And then so when Darby and I are on the same page, that's usually a pretty good sign that like the Venn diagram is aligning.
So how's
But
it
as far as plaid goes, go ahead.
yeah, how's it like having your brother in in a band? Like is that a do you feel like you welcome that as much as he does?
I think we both welcome it. Um, we get along really well. We probably fight like brothers at a time. But the other guys have brothers too, so they get it, and so it's always like a secret pleasure of mine when they're around their brothers and kind of like fighting a little bit. I'm like, yeah, y'all just try being like in the car all the time together, because most siblings just don't even like can't even ride in the car for 20 minutes, you know. So um, yeah, but no, I think there's a cool strength to it, um, and we're able to like we're really on the same wavelength a lot of times of like just bouncing stuff back and forth. Um, but it's a cool thing because you learn, I guess, over time that your personalities. This plays into the plaid thing. Like your personalities are just pretty different, and like I've heard the Chili Peppers, who I love a lot, they're like, you're so similar because you've had so much shared experiences, and like thinking about those guys like playing like the Woodstock or like playing their big concerts, Slane Castle and stuff. So unique to them four, but they're such four different people. So I was kind of actually thinking about it last night. I was like, that's kind of plaid a little bit, like because we've known each other a long time and we're so similar in so many regards, and have such a shared experience. But when you spend like, I don't know, time with your girlfriend, your wife, you realize like, oh, like, well, you are different people too, you know. And any like long relationship, you realize you're pretty different just from like exposure. And so I was kind of thinking last night, like plaid is it's like an organized, beautiful pattern of that kind of like entropy or chaos, you know. Um, Not to mention that the songs we chose for Plaid are just really super different vibes. I don't know if I sent it to you. I really should have sent it to you. I'll send it to you after this, but the vibes are pretty different. And we kind of had this idea. This is another kind of far out idea, but I kind of felt like on the last album we had done with our producer Adam Lacamez, that it was called Cupidity Unlimited, and I felt kind of like I drew this on a chalkboard because randomly there was a chalkboard in the thing, and it was so funny. Uh, but it's like imagine a cone that has like a circle at the top, and it's like a V. And I was like, I felt like we had kind of explored different genres of music and like not too much of a depth, you know?
Sure.
And so if you can imagine a cone and then imagine on a different plane the circle at the base of it, kind of like this, we had a joke. It's like, oh, we're going to tilt the cone like farther. And we're not going to just go like around like this, but we're going to go like the full, you know. So every time we'd like reference something, the producer would sound would be like, all right, tilt the cone. And there was, it's basically the idea that if we leaned harder in genres or different types of music, it would like in this way pull us into a more unique place. I know it sounds kind of counterintuitive, but like in a weird way, we just sound like how we sound how we sound, but leaning in different places would kind of like just explore new territory, I feel like, and be even more uniquely us, weirdly. So again, I don't know how I even got onto that, but yeah, it was about plaid and yeah,
Well, your
exploring
brother being in
different.
the band, yeah, yeah. What
Yeah, he's in the band.
no, so I want to know you might have different answers, but what would be your answer? Who is your favorite band that has brothers in it?
Um, hmm, the Isley Brothers. I'm just joking. I mean, so, some obvious answers are
You
like
got the Black
Radiohead.
Crowes, Oasis, Radiohead, sure, yeah, man.
Yeah. Which
Kings of
you being a
Leon,
big, yeah, yeah, Kings of Leon. Yeah, they're interesting because they're three and a cousin.
yeah.
Um,
Their last album was fantastic, by the way.
yeah. What? Oh yeah.
Can
Can we
we
have
have
fun?
fun? Yeah, so
It
good.
really was good.
Oh,
I looked to them a lot. We looked to them even when we were younger and like the early stuff, and then uh honestly, I feel like when you start playing music, you even look to usually everyone looks to like people's early stuff, but then if you're a musician, you kind of are thinking a little bit down the road of like, hey, like how could you age coolly and like
Yeah.
keep making great shit? And again, the Chili Peppers are a great example of that, and Kings of Leon, I think, is a great example of that. And they're just still cool, you know. So, you know, yeah, it was a great album. A lot
It's
of
nice
heart.
too that the Kings of Leon, like there definitely were some warts and bruises along the way. Like they weren't like a shiny, glossy product the whole time, which I think gives lends to their story, just like other
Definitely.
bands. So let's talk about, I mean, a Kings of Leon, I'm sure I think have headlined this festival. You guys are doing Lollapalooza this year. When your
Hmm.
manager or whoever let you guys know that, like what was the collective reaction?
It was cool. When he let us know, he's like, I'm pretty damn sure it's not that, you don't ever count your chickens until you have like the contract with your name on it in your hand, but, or at least in the agent's hand. And so it was kind of like it was coming, but, uh, I don't know. I mean, it's super cool. Um,
Do you enjoy
I think
playing festivals compared to like your own headline shows, or does it not matter to you?
Oh, it is awesome. I mean, again, it's awesome. I mean, what I was gonna say is that like when he told us, I think we had to like practice after to get ready for the tour in January, and so like, I don't know, it's a, like not to downplay it at all, but it's just another thing, like once you play one of that caliber, it's like okay, it's great, but it's just another. I hate to say another workday. It's a cool milestone, but like, it's really cool. I mean, we said we were going to talk about the High Water Festival last year, and
Yeah.
um, yeah, those like are really cool milestones, and they're just really fun shows. I mean, like having like that sea of people jumping up and down and like singing the song is pretty unmatched, and not to mention like a lot of the times, sometimes like festival or amphitheater stages that we've done can sound terrible and feel really weird. If you're like used to playing in like a place where the guitar you're hearing is mostly coming from amps or something, and or at least you think it is. And we don't use ears or anything, so but not to mention that they have really good people, and you don't get like a long sound check typically at those things unless you're the headliner. And they have really good people. You have probably like 5-10 minutes to set up and do your thing, and but it just sounds amazing. It like playing is so fun when it just sounds amazing. And there's so many just times when it might we'll bring a front of house guy sometimes and it'll sound good to the audience, but sometimes it can just sound terrible on stage, and that's when you can really feel like you're having imposter syndrome because you're not having a good time, but you gotta be, and so that's a pretty important thing to get the mix styled. That's an underrated skill that like a band needs to have and musicians need to have. If you're a band like us where like we are really actively like I wrote this thing, I'm like listen obsessively, like I have these notes that I want to like put on the fucking monitor. Listen obsessively is one of them. Smiles another. But anyways, like yeah, also to say Lollapalooza. Yeah, we're stoked. And then you don't announce it, you know about it, and then you tell a couple friends, and then you announce it, and then um yeah, there's all these like little tiers of validation that people from your past give you an attaboy, and that's one of them. And it's always kind of funny to see like, oh, like since we did this, since we played that radio show or whatever it is, it's like, oh, like now you're like tagging along or something. So it's kind of funny, but Yeah, we're excited, needless to say. We love the Smashing Pumpkins. Um, and yeah, probably at a certain degree to cap off the Lala talk. By the way, we're not going to see the Smashing Pumpkins because we have a show
The next
that
day.
same night.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but like, fuck, I mean, what are you going to do? It's a great gig that we need to play. So you can always justify it. Like, for instance, this last weekend in Athens, Goose was the headliner,
Hell yeah.
and we really wanted to stay and see Goose, but we were going to play a college party that just was like is gonna make it happen for us, and help. That's just the nitty gritty, like logistics of it, business side. But yeah, like when that thing kind of like will help you do the playing aspect of it, you're not too disappointed. So having said all that, Lollapalooza, the Pumpkins. I was gonna say one more thing about it. I feel like, um,
Well, I mean, just playing in Chicago, I mean, just a great city to as a band. I mean, to play like great live music city.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. So I want to know, like, what was your first concert that you attended? And for you now, like when you go to a concert, is it hard for you to just be a fan, or are you just critiquing, or are you, being like the band guy?
The curtain is pulled back a little bit for me, um, but then again, you go see some bands and they'll take you out of that, and it's awesome. We saw Arcade Fire last year at the festival. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Um, but and weirdly in the moment, I'm like not thinking that, but then the next day I'm like, oh my god, that was great. Um, like I said, we saw Neil Young that took me out of that. Um, what was the question again? Do I enjoy them or something?
Well,
Or
what was your first concert? And then, yeah, like, how do you like?
oh,
Do you
first
find
concert.
it hard to like just be a fan at concerts, or are you always trying to critique and always like looking at things?
Yeah, I mean, to cap off that part of the question, like I think you're doing both. I mean,
Okay.
um, you're probably like you get to a higher level of experience and you're looking at people with maybe slightly less experience and you're like, I'm glad I learned to not do that anymore. Or maybe you see them and be like, oh, I'm still doing that. And but then yeah, like, and it's honestly it's less with people who are like on the younger side. I mean, they can still rock your world, but seeing kind of like the people, like the Chili Peppers or someone, it's like, man, they've played so many shows and they follow the path, and it is just mind-boggling. But my first concert, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't have an answer. One I really liked when I was growing up. Hmm. There's a couple of like house parties where I saw some bands. There's this band called Boy Scott. Have you ever heard of them?
No.
They're from kind of like Nashville slash New Jersey. Do you know Pine Grove?
Yeah, of course.
They're like in that world. They play a lot still. You should. I never say you should check them out, but check them out.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, great band. Yeah, so they played in Memphis, and like that was like one of those shows as a high schooler where you're like, man, that's cool, and you know, someone's smoking a cigarette outside or whatever. And what else I mean, I saw the Chili Peppers. I was spoiled. I mean, I got to see Bob Dylan, which was boring, but I love Bob Dylan, and that, I think we talked about that. Who else have I seen? Oh, I saw Peter Frampton.
Oh, nice.
Um, but he wasn't like I'd been to so many shows by then. Got to see Paul McCartney.
Mm.
Um, I'm trying to think of an interesting one though. Oh, here's an interesting one. There's a festival in Memphis called Beale Street Music Fest,
Sure.
and that was like really the first time I'd seen like a festival stage, and I was like, I don't know, 16 or 17 or something, and saw Houndmouth, and that was just awesome. And then it's cool like seeing them around and seeing friends like open up for them and stuff, and um, yeah. Who else did I see? Grace Potter was really great.
Oh yeah,
Have you ever seen her?
oh, absolutely. Yeah. Her and
She's pretty
Margot Price,
underrated.
man. Her and Margot Price both are fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
anyways, that I could say a million different shows. I don't know if I really had a first one.
Okay. So let's talk about like where you guys live now. Like I absolutely love the Low Country. For people who've never been to Charleston, Mount Pleasant, that whole area, like what is it about that area that really like you guys gravitate?
Well, Selby lived here in college a summer, and he just saw, he like saw the band of horses, like lived here, and he might have seen them, and there were he went and saw Hootie play in the stadium here, and there was a band that opened up for them that was cool. Um, and so he just kind of saw like the scene and was like, it's really cool. And then, funny enough, slowly we became friends with all those people, and you know, yeah. But I always say to people like it's small enough where if you're a rapper or if you're like a surf rocker or if you're like an avant-garde rocker. It's so small that you still play shows with everyone and like team up on stuff and support each other. But it's like a happening enough city where like oh like my brother or sister lives in New York and they just saw this band or like it just is it's pretty current and the town is a little bit of a trend. It's kind of a trendy town, like gotta have a good coffee shop, gotta have like a what have you that's like a trendy thing. It's super on it. And so it kind of you feel kind of pretty current. I mean, there's like the joke of like in music or as a music appreciator, like, oh, they're edge forward. Have you ever heard of that term?
Uh,
It's like you can't even appreciate anything because it like has gotten popular. So for instance, like oh, I don't even like Geese anymore because I know we were joking about Geese, but like I don't even like Geese anymore because now they're popular. Or like Olivia Dean because now they're popular.
I got you.
Um, not I love all those people, but so yeah, like there's a sense of like edge forwardness, but not so forward that like if you've ever met anyone from like LA or like there's like LA and New York. And then I've heard this described by people from there. They're like LA and New York, and then there's Nashville that's like 6 months behind. And I feel like Charleston is like 7 months behind or something. You know what I mean? Because, and it's funny because we'll go travel around to those places and play, and you'll see like, oh, like there's a pair of jeans that are kind of cut like that. And you're like, that's kind of interesting. And then a few months later, you'll see it back home, and you're like, oh, like that's where they got it from. At
Yeah.
least in my mind.
What I like about Charleston, like in particular, is like, you have so much history associated with the city, but like you said, they're very like forward and very progressive. Is that fair to
Super.
say?
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah, it is an interesting meeting of those two. Um, I'd say that's very fair to say and well said.
What about the music scene? Outside of the Windjammer, I mean, the Music Farm, the Poorhouse, what other venues support like indie bands, in the area, in that area?
The Windjammer is a great one because the Windjammer really treats their bands really well and bands I feel like usually want to change up where they play every year. Um, just for the difference of it. But we've played there the last 3 summers, and it's been amazing every time. So they make it hard for you to want to go somewhere else. What else is there? The Poorhouse is great because it's just like it's so that thing. I mean, like
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like it is a jam band venue technically, but like that like friendliness that the jam band community has like bleeds into everything, and they just really care. So like yeah, venues like that they really care about the artist. I feel like that bleeds into them doing well, and like the experience of everything becomes better and like more elevated. But what else about the scene? I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting. I mean, there's a college here, so naturally there's like people from all over kind of coming in, and some people stay, and so there's a lot of influences from all over the country, I guess. But um, yeah, it's cool. I mean, I think it just is kind of infused through that town or through like that mindset that we just talked about. And again, it's not so like music businessy as like Nashville or something, where like every conversation feels like a transaction or something. But as we kind of noted, I don't know, maybe it's just a changing of the times, but like no conversation felt like that at South by Southwest. Really, no conversation has felt like that almost ever to me, but it doesn't feel like that in Nashville when I thought it would.
Mhm.
Um, you know, um, I have a friend who he got to go to the Newport Folk Fest, and he was giving us some sage advice last year where he's like, yeah, like, and he's outside of the music world, but his friend tour manages for somebody, and he's like, yeah, I got to go, and um, because he's like, you could tell everyone who was on a mission, and like to like promote themselves, and you can spot that pretty quickly. So um, that was a good, I think, lesson to learn. Speaking into what we already knew, but yeah, you just don't want to be like on a like you want to have a mission of creating great art and being whatever your definition of success is, but yeah, like you don't want it to be like ingenuine.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's a nice segue because how you and I met, I mean, I think is the the optimal way of what we were just talking about. I mean, we're sitting on a picnic bench eating our tacos, and here, Mr. Webster, we just start talking about music, and it was, I think, as organic as it could have happened, and
I loved what you said. You're like South by baby.
I mean,
That's
it is.
South by.
There is something about that festival. There's something about that city. Outside of San Diego, I don't think I've found a better city in this country. Now you've toured all over, so I'm sure you can attest to. But I mean, what are some of your favorite cities?
In a weird way, I think musicians, their what would you call it? Their experience of the city can sometimes be colored of like how well their show went,
Yeah,
which is so unfair.
yeah,
But when it's a positive thing, it's awesome. I don't know. I think I would say let's separate music and not, but for us, they're always kind of tied. So, hmm. We had a great time in Portland. Portland just was electric. Just the feeling of the city was super cool. Um, what else is great? Minneapolis always feels really cool. Yeah, I'm measuring them on how cool it feels to be there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Cleveland, Cleveland's kind of an underdog. Yeah, I think what are some of my favorite cities? What else is nice?
Well,
Yeah, I don't
obviously
know.
they got to have a surfing beach, right? I mean,
Yeah. I'm the one. I don't know if I told you, but I'm the one guy who doesn't surf in the band. But I appreciate the beach because that goes back to them moving here earlier, so they all learn together.
Yeah.
And then by the time I joined, we were touring and stuff, and I never made it. Like I was like, let me be different in that way, where I don't have to, you know, wear the like unintended, I guess, the monkey suit. I guess I don't know if they dress the same, but yeah, like um Texas. Well, here's what I'll say: anywhere you are, you don't realize how much it affects how you play that night, just from how the musicians are feeling and how they absorb it. They walk around, and even if it's a lot of times you don't get so far because you're kind of um what would you call it?
A radius.
Uh yeah, you only have the
Yeah.
radius from the venue unless you all decide to go somewhere, so um you know yeah, you absorb like the people you talk to, what you eat that day, how you feel, and that, like, even if the set list is the exact same thing every night, like you're gonna feel that certain way, and the people show up, and like the it sounds corny, but like the energy that the people show up with is a lot of way what's reflected through the musicians, and then maybe if you're that type of performer, like it's up to you to generate it
Mhm.
if you're that type, um and that's cool. And if you're in the mood to do that, that's cool. But yeah, every area, whether you're in Texas, whether you're in it's kind of by region, I'd say. Um, Austin doesn't feel too crazy from like Houston, which they'd probably hate if I said that, but it sometimes really does
Mhm.
because the crowd's different.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, that's what I got to say about that, about about favorite cities.
Is it tough to be on the East Coast and specifically kind of like literally on the coast when you're doing like a US tour? Like, does it make sense to be more like in Chicago or Indiana where it isn't like as geographically a challenge or
I thought that would be the case, and because half of your radius, again, to bring that word up, like, is the ocean. But it really doesn't matter because once you leave, you
yeah,
might as well be in any other town.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So um, once you're rooted to do your thing, it doesn't matter at that point. Charleston gets skipped a lot because it is a little, you know, farther away than Atlanta. Um, big, huge acts usually go to Charlotte, 3 hours away.
Mhm.
So it's kind of an inspiring thing that the goal is to, and like for instance, like Fish does this. They'll go and never thought I'd be referencing Fish, but Fish does this where they just play. Hey, we're playing. Not It's not unique to them, but they play like, yeah, 3 nights, and then it's a genius idea that some older guy pointed out to us, but then they drive to you, and you get to set up and stay
Yeah.
and get comfortable with, even if it's a stadium, you're getting comfortable with the stadium,
Mhm.
and so that's kind of inspiring. But yeah, it doesn't really matter. um but I know what you mean.
Yeah. So let's talk about this Easy Honey Surf Club. Even though you're not a surfer, and I must say, I've gotten up to my knees on a longboard, and that was the extent. Like I'm 6'3", like this body's not surfing. But talk about the importance
Yeah,
of the surf club and what it means to you guys as a band.
yeah, I think hmm, it was probably our second tour, um where we were just kind of like, hey, at our level of touring, you have some free time, because you're not on the bus where you get driven overnight and then like the crew sets it up the next day and
Yeah.
you're doing interviews and stuff. And so um, you have some free time, and we were kind of like, well, what could make a tour? It's weird being like an artist. I would say a lot of artists feel this way where you just feel so selfish. And so I think we were. I don't think none of this was talked about or said, but it's looking back, it's like you just want to. If it was something we tried, and we just wanted to change up the tour, and you know, Selby, his partner is really into like marine biology and stuff, so he was kind of like getting infused with that. And then Darby studied sustainability at college, and so we kind of like, all right, well, we have the tools, and so there's a great organization here called Charleston Waterkeeper, and they connected us with. There's all these other water keepers that are throughout the country. Like we've done some stuff with the one in was it in San Diego? No, it was. I think it was like in between San Diego and Los Angeles, and so they're a great organization, and they like do testing on the water and how polluted the water is and everything. And but basically, what we've done is just we do like beach cleanups, so like oyster rebuilds, and you know the like what would you call it? The impact is really more on like the spreading awareness, and that's what they tell us, like, and that's what they say to every one of their kind of cleanups, like, this cigarette butt, but it's like you could pick up this one cigarette butt, but if you know about it and you like spread awareness about it, you're going to prevent the cigarette butts from like getting tossed on the ground.
Yeah.
And it's cool. It's I guess bringing it back to like this selflessness, there's just kind of a nice, refreshing quality of doing something. You get so into the music and so into the music world and like touring world of venues, and it's just nice to like get outside and because every venue's like dark. So it's
Well,
nice to get outside and just meet people who are like, again, and a lot of the times in this, not that we're like hugely famous or anything, but they just don't like that. Yeah, they appreciate music and stuff, but they don't like give a shit. Like you're just a person, another person that's you know doing a little bit of their share of service. So you know, that's what's been really cool to kind of keep going. And I guess I guess we started like kind of the surf club where that was last summer, and that was just a financial way to create some cash flow to some organizations, which was just a cool way to kind of keep that going on tour, um, physically at every show, and kind of spread, again, spread awareness about it.
yeah, I think it's awesome. And I think the one thing that we Americans do very well at is take things for granted.
Definitely,
Whether it's music, whether it's the ocean, whether it's, the environment. Like, and I think anytime we can kind of change that narrative or at least maybe like, move the needle a little bit, like anything we can do, right?
definitely. I mean, yeah, I think it's like a athlete phrase. It's like chase discomfort, and being on the road and like being hot as hell picking up garbage in Wilmington, North Carolina, like, but you feel better, you know what I mean? It's like and that's my joke, is that in a way it's selfish doing something selfless, but anyways, yeah, it's cool, move your body and stuff. So Darby's really the best kind of spiritual leader of the band in that regard of motivating us to, you know, I think it makes none of us are the type of musicians where we know every scale. Like, what's that guitar player's name?
Joe Bonamassa.
Honestly, I was thinking somebody else, but then I went to him. I was like, yeah, him too. Yeah, not it, but Joe Bonamassa is like very in shape. You know, like he like he seems like he's in really good shape. But um, yeah, I don't know. So it's like I think it makes the music more us and more better because that's like what we enjoy doing.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think being physically fit and being like, health aware and like, it's only going to help you guys longevity as a band, as long as you stay together, right?
Yeah, well said.
So, um, yeah, I mean, you've got this tour coming up, 27 shows, you've got this EP coming out. I mean, things are good. Like, do you feel ever like imposter syndrome, or do you feel like, when's this going to end, or like when are the wheels going to come off, or do you kind of have like a real positive energy? I'm kind of imagining you kind of have that positive outlook, but I'll ask it anyway. Did I lose you? Oh man, I lost him. We can take a peek. All right, back to it. Go ahead.
Um, I thought I had where we were. Where were we again?
Oh, shoot. What were we talking about?
Oh, positive outlook.
Yeah, 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 yes.
Imposter syndrome. I don't know. Yeah, you can kind of feel that for sure, I bet. But in a way, you because you've lived it, you or live whatever it is thus far. Like you know how every page has been turned and every like random domino has fallen. So, um, but yeah, you can. I don't know. Like I think it's pretty human to be have a negative bias, you know.
Yeah.
I kind of learned that just like as we evolved, we naturally have negative biases of like being really on edge because we didn't want to get eaten by a lion or whatever. And I know that sounds like kind of trivial, but it really helps, I think, because you just, hey, we are human. And so I think recognizing that, oh, it's nothing that's like wrong with you if you have a negative bias on something, or like, hey, if you've been in the van for 5 hours and you're a little cranky about like, oh man. But that's just human. And so, but yeah, it really is, important to have a good attitude and yeah, I don't know. I think, well, I heard a good line recently that, oh, it was about the Outcast guys, and they're like, we were just kids taking it as far. We were just gonna see how far we could take it, you know. And they took it, and there's something that resonates about that with me because otherwise it feels like this like long what would you call it, like it feels like a business plan and you don't really want it to feel like that, you know what I mean? um so I think that's kind of what we're on, obviously like you push through hard times, and like if you didn't like push through the hard time of again of being in the van for like 8 hours or something, or breaking down or whatever. um but we are really grateful because we like have so many great things go for us, and yeah.
It's nice to have that feeling because I know I've felt that feeling with the podcast now where you feel like it's bigger than what you are. Like the band has become, bigger than what you like ever imagined it to be. And like, it's now kind of like everyone else's and it's not yours anymore. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and some people can be like, there's a negative part of that where you still want it to be your thing, but the positive I think is like you can kind of just relax into your role a little bit. You know what I mean?
Kind of be like the ringleader, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, or you don't have to wear like 1,000 hats at the same time.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and having most people when they're starting out don't realize that like Taylor Swift has a team of vocal coaches. Has like there's so much money and so many like teams and so much just like passionate team members that no, I won't say passionate. Like people who really love music
Mhm.
um are on their team and like pushing the ball forward for them every day. And so um that kind of that's pretty awesome. And like we've gotten to work with a lot of great people. And so having a team is yeah, pretty unrivaled, and you can just be a little less heady. I think we were talking about that, like the legitimacy of it. Um, you don't have to like, I don't know. You can pass the ball a little bit,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have you don't have to
Delegate.
like
Yeah.
yeah delegate. You know.
Yeah. So last question for you, because I know you got to start your rehearsal. We'd be remiss to not talk about the sound guy who did the mixing for this live at Windjammer and this
Yeah.
time in the van. So give us the story of him or her and
Yeah. Yeah. That's the story is his name's Adam Lacamez, and we grew up with him in Memphis, and Sylvie and him played in a band at one point, and he went to college at Belmont, and I don't know what degree he got, like an engineering degree or something. And we didn't like, well, we just kind of lost touch. Like they went to different colleges and we're in different circles, kind of. And then it just kind of came back around to where, from afar, we were both like, okay, you're still in music. All right, you're doing some cool things, and he was in this really great band and worked with this great band called Arlie. Have you ever heard of Arlie?
no.
There,
Okay.
that's another. I'll text you these, but
Yeah. Yeah.
they're an awesome band, and we were just like, man, we're huge fans of them. And our friend Adam worked on it. Like, let's see what it'd be like to work with him, and just had like a really great, cool connection, and um, like a ton of the same reference points, and so we did like an album with him, and he mixed a lot of it. But he's pro enough to know like he doesn't have the conflict of interest where I gotta mix everything. So he mixed, I don't know, 40% of that album. But bringing it back to like we just set up a mobile rig in like a beach house or something and did a take, and he played it back like the sounds he was getting, and we are like, yo, that's that's some good shit. And so that's that launched like pretty much 2 years of working with him, and then on that album, and then ever since then we just know he's a fucking knockout mixer. And mixing is so funny because like you can be technically really great, but it just comes down to like taste,
Yeah.
just like anything. Everything can be boiled down to taste in this weird way.
Yeah.
um no matter like the technical prowess, I guess. Very, very Rick Rubinism, I bet. But yeah, like and so yeah, we recorded that the live album, and it's funny because you just anything you did a while ago, like after that show, I was like, that actually sounded pretty good. But now we've played those songs like 100 more times, and I'm like, man, I just and same with recordings is like that, as everyone would say. But
Yeah.
yeah, he's a great producer and mixer, and just like spiritual, cool dude, and really hard worker. Like can't say sing his praises enough. We'd be like working on tracking stuff. And, as a band, sometimes we track together, but sometimes, people are doing their parts. But he was there from like 9, 10 in the morning to like 2 in the morning, go like not taking breaks. And so yeah, good shout to him.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. So, well, Webster, thank you so much for doing this. Enjoy tour. Hopefully, you get to eat your best meal you've ever had and get to not or see everybody else surf their best wave, right?
Yeah, man. Well, dude, I you know, not to talk too much, but it's about just kind of like it's really fun. You get to meet a new set of people every night, and you were one of them in Austin, and super cool. So thanks for having me, dog.
I appreciate that, man. So yeah, check it out. What's the best way for your fans to get a hold of you or for information? Website, socials, all that stuff. Give it to us.
Yeah, man. Go to the Instagram. You'll find everything.
Cool. Sweet. Well, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, our social media pages. That helps us and helps the bands and artists like Easy Honey. Also, check out our sponsor, RAR Outfitters. That's RAWR, outfitters.com. Don't just wear, RAR. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Dog. You've been great. This is the Music Lab Podcast.